What if gravity vanished? It's not floating, it's hell. Chapter 1. At the 1 second mark, the Great Ungrounding. It was 9:32 a.m. on a Tuesday, a time universally known for its profound boringness. People were commuting, people were in meetings they didn't want to be in, and somewhere, someone was probably microwaving fish in the office break room. Earth was, in short, having a very normal day. And then, it wasn't. At E0 and O1, the universe flipped a switch. The fundamental force that keeps your feet on the ground and the Earth from shattering into cosmic dust decided to take a 5-minute break. Gravity was gone. Your first sensation wouldn't be flying, it would be falling, except everywhere. That familiar stomach-lurching drop you feel on a roller coaster? Imagine that feeling, but it just doesn't stop. In a coffee shop in London, a barista watched his perfectly poured latte art separate. The milk, the espresso, and the cup itself all decided to pursue different careers, floating gently upwards. The barista, moments later, joined them, executing a perfect panicked backflip he never knew he was capable of. This brings us to an important clarification. You've lost your weight, but not your mass. Mass is how much stuff you're made of. Weight is just gravity angrily pulling that stuff down. This means that while you are now beautifully weightless, you still have the same inertia. When that barista inevitably hit the ceiling, it hurt. When his cash register hit the ceiling beside him, it hurt a lot more. Across the city, in millions of homes, pets were having the worst day of their lives. Cats, legendary for always landing on their feet, suddenly found this one. Crucial law of physics had been revoked without warning. Outside, things were significantly less funny. On the highways, 1 million tons of metal and angry commuters became a slow-motion demolition derby. A car doesn't need gravity to move forward, that's the engine, but it desperately needs gravity to steer. Tires need to grip the road. Without that grip, every car was now just a 2-ton metal brick sliding on ice, except the ice was air and the sliding was in 3 dimensions. Cars that were braking simply continued floating, gently pirouetting into cars that were accelerating. And the planes. Oh, the planes. An airplane flies because of a beautiful balance. Its engines push it forward, and the shape of its wings creates lift, a pressure difference that pushes the plane up, fighting against gravity pulling it down. The moment gravity vanished, that entire equation broke. There was no more down to fight against. Pilots, passengers, and their in-flight peanuts all became weightless inside a metal tube that was no longer flying, but merely continuing. Like a bullet fired from a gun, the plane just kept going in a straight line, completely out of control, waiting for its 30,000-ton mass to introduce itself to a mountain or another equally confused airplane. In the first 15 seconds, the world wasn't screaming. It was just confused. It was a planet of 7 billion people simultaneously looking up and saying, "Why am I on the ceiling?" They wouldn't have much time to ponder it, because while humanity was dealing with its sudden vertical predicament, the Earth's atmosphere was already checking out. Chapter 2. At the 30-second mark, the big breakup and the terrible silence. You know how the end of Chapter 1 mentioned the atmosphere was checking out? It wasn't just being dramatic. The Earth's atmosphere, all 5 quadrillion tons of it, isn't stuck to the planet. It's held in place by one thing and one thing only: gravity. It's less like a blanket and more like a needy house guest who's only staying because you keep feeding it, with gravitational pull. Now, the food is gone. For the first time in 4.5 billion years, the atmosphere is free. And, like someone in a bad relationship finally getting their own apartment, it is leaving. Immediately. It's not floating away gently. It's exploding outwards into the endless, inviting vacuum of space. For you, clinging to the ceiling, which is now just a wall, this presents 2 immediate and very personal problems. Problem 1. Don't hold your breath. Seriously, don't. It's the worst thing you could do. Your body is used to living under the crushing weight of 100 kilometers air. When that outside pressure instantly vanishes, the 1 atm of air inside your lungs becomes a bomb. It will expand catastrophically, rupturing your lungs from the inside out in less than a second. The only survivable, a very generous term here, option is to exhale. All of it. You'd pass out from oxygen deprivation in about 15 seconds, but at least you wouldn't pop. Problem 2. The sound of silence. As you're busy not popping, you'd notice the second weirdest thing. The world has gone completely, terrifyingly silent. Sound is just a party, and the air is the party goer. It's a vibration that needs a medium, like air or water, to travel. No air, no party. All the sounds from Chapter 1, the distant crunch of metal, the screams, your cat's very confused meowing, are gone. A plane could explode right next to you, and you wouldn't hear a thing. It would just be a very sudden, very silent fireball. This silence is the new soundtrack for the end of the world. And the physics just gets worse. Without air, there is no more air resistance, no more friction. That car from Chapter 1, the one spinning gently as it floated, it's not just a car anymore. It's a ballistic object. It will continue its exact trajectory at its last known speed until it slams into a floating building or a floating bus. Nothing will slow it down. Oh, and one last thing. As the pressure drops to zero, the liquids on the surface of your body begin to boil. Not from heat, but from the lack of pressure. This is called ebulism. Your tears and the saliva on your tongue would start to fizz. And as you float there, in total silence, unable to breathe, watching the world bubble, you'd realize the atmosphere was just the appetizer. The main course, the oceans, was just starting to get up. Chapter 3. At the 1-minute mark. The unmooring of the seas. If the atmosphere was a needy houseguest, the oceans were a prisoner. A prisoner held in a bowl-shaped cell, the ocean floor, by a single, very strong jailer. Gravity. At the 60-second mark, that jailer was gone. And the oceans were not amused. You might imagine the oceans gently floating upwards, like a peaceful blue blanket lifting off a bed. This is adorably wrong. Don't forget the physics from your school days. The Earth is spinning. Now the in is gone. Only the fling remains. The Atlantic Ocean didn't float. It was flung, like a wet dog shaking itself dry. But the dog is a planet, and the water droplets are the size of small mountains. The world's oceans violently detached from the crust. Surface tension, the weak force that makes water form droplets, tried its best, but it was overwhelmed. The oceans didn't just become a fine mist. They tore apart into colossal, city-sized globules of water. Billions of tons of liquid. No longer an ocean, but an asteroid field of shimmering, boiling spheres. And they brought their contents with them. For the first time in history, a blue whale, the largest animal on Earth, found itself in space. It was trapped, suffocating inside a giant zero-G bubble of its own habitat, floating alongside a very confused-looking nuclear submarine. The Ever Given cargo ship, which once famously blocked the Suez Canal, was now part of a kilometer-wide sphere of water, plastic garbage and sharks, tumbling end over end as it was ejected from the planet. Every ship, every oil rig, every fish, all of it was now in the sky. This wasn't just happening to the oceans. Rivers unzipped themselves from the ground. The Amazon, the Nile, the Mississippi, they became massive serpentine ribbons of water, coiling and twisting through the now silent, airless sky. The Great Lakes of North America detached in 5 distinct, massive chunks. For 1 minute, the Earth looked like a surrealist painting. A dry, rocky core surrounded by a chaotic, orbiting halo of its own water, full of whales and shipwrecks. It was, perhaps, the most horrifyingly beautiful sight in the history of the solar system. And all this water, traveling upwards at ballistic speeds, had 4 minutes left before the ride was over. Chapter 4. At the 2-minute mark, the planet tries to disassemble itself. For the first 2 minutes, The solid ground was the only normal thing left. Sure, you were floating and the oceans were gone, but at least the planet was still there. Wrong. The Earth is not a solid billiard ball. It's more like a hard-boiled egg with a liquid center wrapped in a cracked shell. That shell is the tectonic plates. The liquidy part is the mantle, hot magma, and the center is the core. The only thing holding this messy, pressurized sandwich together is gravity, which compresses everything inward with unimaginable force. And now, that force is gone. First, the volcanoes. A volcano is basically a planetary pimple. It's a weak spot in the crust where pressurized magma from the mantle can escape. Gravity is the main force keeping that magma down, making it hard for it to push up. At minute 02 every volcano on Earth, active, dormant, even the ones we thought were long dead, erupted simultaneously. But this wasn't a normal eruption. With no gravity to fight and no atmosphere to slow it down, the magma didn't flow. It jetted. Mount Vesuvius, Yellowstone, the entire Ring of Fire, they all became rocket engines, firing columns of molten rock and ash hundreds of kilometers into the silent void, adding to the chaotic halo of water and whales. Mount Everest, no longer weighed down, was now being violently pushed even higher by the decompressing magma underneath it. Second, the plates. The tectonic plates, the giant rock rafts that hold our continents, were no longer held down. They were now just loose, multi-thousand-ton scabs floating on an expanding, boiling ocean of magma. The friction that usually keeps them in check was gone. The immense pressure being released from the mantle below began to shove them around like hockey pucks. The San Andreas Fault didn't just slip, it violently separated. The plate holding India, no longer being forced under the Eurasian plate by gravity, might have suddenly rebounded, shattering the Himalayas in the process. The very ground you were born on was breaking apart. The continents were cracking. Finally, the core. This is the big one. The Earth's core is a sphere of iron under pressure so intense it's hard to even write down. That pressure exists because of the gravitational weight of the entire planet pressing down on it. By removing gravity, we effectively took the lid off the ultimate pressure cooker. The core, no longer contained, began to expand. The planet itself started to swell. Massive, world-ending cracks began to appear across the entire globe as the Earth's interior tried to escape its exterior. The Earth was, quite literally, tearing itself apart from the inside out, and there were still 3 minutes left. Chapter 5. At the 4-minute mark, the silent, swollen Earth. If you had miraculously survived this long, perhaps you were an astronaut on the International Space Station, or sealed in a deep Earth bunker that somehow hadn't been shattered, you would be witnessing the end of a planet. The first thing you'd notice is the view. The Earth is no longer blue. It's an angry, fractured sphere of red and black, bleeding magma from 1,000 wounds. It has visibly swelled as its core decompressed. The second thing you'd notice is the halo. The sky is gone. In its place is a dense, terrifying ring system. It's not the elegant ice rings of Saturn. It's a chaotic, cosmic junkyard made of everything. Trillion-ton spheres of ocean water, flash frozen on the outside but still liquid inside, tumble alongside entire cargo ships. Jets of magma, now cooling into black rock, spin past the frozen, tumbling bodies of whales and cattle. The combined atmosphere, all 5 quadrillion tons of it, is now a rapidly expanding cloud of ice crystals, forming a ghostly nebula around the wreck of the planet. This is the 4-minute mark, and the 2 great killers of space have now fully taken over. On the side facing the sun, there is no atmosphere to block the sun's rage. Unfiltered ultraviolet and X-ray radiation is scouring the day side of the planet, sterilizing it instantly. The heat is so intense that exposed rock begins to crack and melt. It is a furnace. On the side, facing away from the sun, there is no atmosphere to hold in the heat. This is the night side. Here, the temperature has plummeted to that of deep space. minus 270 degrees Celsius, to 450 degrees. Any part of the floating halo that enters this shadow, be it a sphere of water or a chunk of a skyscraper, flash freezes, becoming a brittle, silent icicle. Humanity is gone. The concept of life on the surface is a distant memory from 4 minutes ago. The planet is silent. It is sterilized by fire on one side and shattered by ice on the other. It is surrounded by a halo of its own guts. It is, for all intents and purposes, dead. And then the universe prepared for its final, cruelest joke. The timer was about to run out. The one thing worse than losing gravity was about to happen. It was coming back. Chapter 6. At the 5-minute mark. The re-graspening. The universe flipped the switch back on. There was no warning, no gentle fade-in. At the 5-minute mark, gravity was 0. At 5 minutes and 1 second, it was 9.8 ms2. This single event was infinitely more destructive than the previous 5 minutes combined. Remember that chaotic halo of everything? The frozen oceans, the magma rockets, the cargo ships, the confused whales, and the entire atmosphere? For 5 minutes, all of it had been coasting upward or outward. Now, up had a mortal enemy again. Every single particle, from a speck of dust to a trillion-ton sphere of ocean, instantly had its velocity canceled and then violently reversed. First, the atmosphere. The cloud of expanding ice crystals that was the atmosphere was now in free fall. It was being pulled back to the planet from hundreds of kilometers away. As it fell, it compressed like a global-sized bicycle pump. This recompression created heat. Immense, unimaginable heat. The entire sky ignited. The atmosphere didn't just return. It returned as a superheated shell of plasma and fire, burning at thousands of degrees. It was the re-entry of a space shuttle, but happening everywhere, all at once. The entire planet was momentarily encased in a star. Second, the main course. Through this curtain of fire, the big things began to fall. Those colossal spheres of ocean water, many of them now giant ice comets, slammed into the planet. This was not rain. This was a terminal velocity extinction event. A single, city-sized block of ice falling from that height would impact with the force of thousands of nuclear bombs. Now, multiply that by the entire Pacific Ocean. The impacts were so violent they didn't just make splashes. They shattered the already cracked tectonic plates. The shockwaves from the impacts traveled through the planet, ringing it like a bell. Third, the rest. That magma that had jetted into space? It fell back down, not as lava, but as a planet-wide meteor shower of molten rock, setting fire to whatever wasn't already incinerated by the returning atmosphere or pulverized by the falling oceans. That cargo ship, the Ever Given? It hit the dry plains of what used to be Germany at 3,000 km/h, carving a crater 10 kilometers wide. That whale. It became a biological missile, vaporized on impact. If a human, by some impossible miracle, had survived in a bunker, this is what they would experience. An instant, bone-crushing force as their own body weight returned. If they were floating, they'd just slam into the floor. A sound. The silence would be broken by a single, continuous, world-ending roar. The sound of the sky burning and the oceans landing. The ground itself would begin to heave, not like an earthquake, but like a liquid. The 5 minutes of floating were a bizarre, silent ballet. The first second of gravity's return was the apocalypse. The planet had been scoured, sterilized, cracked open, thrown into a blender. And now it had been put back together with all the force of the universe's meanest bully. At 5 minutes and 1 second, the boiling mud planet. The show is over. The great re-collision has happened. What does the Earth look like at 9:38 a.m. on this Tuesday morning? It is unrecognizable. Not just damaged, it is a fundamentally different planet. First, the new surface, there is no more land. The cataclysmic impact of the oceans didn't just bring the water back. It acted like a cosmic hammer, pulverizing the shattered continental plates. The returning magma, the pulverized rock, and the trillions of tons of water have all been mixed together in a planet-wide, high-speed blender. The surface of the Earth is now a single, global ocean. But it's not an ocean of water, it's an ocean of boiling hot mud, magma slurry. The heat from the atmospheric re-entry and the impacts has flash-boiled a huge portion of the water, but the rest is now just a very, very hot soup. This soup is boiling not only from the leftover heat of the impacts, but also because the planet's crust is so fractured that magma from the mantle is leaking directly into it, everywhere. Second, the new air. The plasma firestorm of re-entry has subsided. The atmosphere has settled. But it is not the air you know. It is a toxic, suffocating blanket, thousands of degrees hot. It's composed almost entirely of superheated steam from the boiling oceans, sulfur dioxide from every volcano erupting, and pulverized rock dust, ash. It is also incredibly dense. The pressure at the new sea level, the surface of the mud ocean, is crushing. Third, the new sky. There is no sky. There is no sun. The sheer volume of ash, soot, and steam kicked into this new atmosphere has blotted out the sun, plunging the entire planet into an impenetrable, permanent darkness. But it's not completely dark. This new, toxic sky is alive with the most violent electrical storm in history. The friction from all those particles of rock and ice crystals creates super lightning, bolts that aren't just a few miles long but stretch for hundreds, perhaps thousands, of miles, spider webbing across the blacked-out globe. The only light on this new Earth is the constant demonic flicker of lightning and the dull, red-hot glow of the magma mud itself. The noise is no longer the roar of Chapter 6. It is the deafening, continuous hiss of a planet-sized pot of water boiling, mixed with the unending crackle of thunder. The 5-minute event is over. The 300-second chaos is done. What is left is a sterile, boiling, pitch-black pressure cooker. And on this new planet, the concept of yesterday is pure, laughable mythology. Chapter 8. The New Epoch and the Spectators. There were survivors, just not where you'd think. Down in the deepest mine shafts or the most secure military bunkers, no one made it. They were safe from the floating, Chapter 1, but they were not safe from the falling, Chapter 6. They were either slammed into their own ceilings with terminal velocity or, failing that, flash-boiled in the magma slurry of the new planet, Chapter 7. No, the only human survivors were the ones who weren't on Earth at all. Aboard the International Space Station, the crew had the worst 5 minutes of their lives. When Earth's gravity vanished, their stable orbit became an uncontrolled drift. They were flung, along with their station, into a new, higher elliptical path. Then they watched the show. They watched their home planet crack open. They watched the oceans leave. They watched the atmosphere ignite. And then, as gravity returned, they watched a hellstorm of debris and fire completely erase the world they knew from the star map. They are the last of mankind. A handful of people in a tin can, with a rapidly dwindling supply of air and food, drifting above a planet that is now more hostile than Mars or Venus. They are not survivors. They are spectators to a funeral, just waiting for their own turn. The reset. Back on the planet formerly known as Earth, the boiling mud ocean of Chapter 7 will not last forever. Over thousands of years, the planet will slowly radiate its immense heat into space. The superheated steam atmosphere will begin to cool, and when it cools, it will condense. It will begin to rain. This will not be a normal rain. It will be a global, continuous, scalding hot deluge lasting for millennia. This great, endless rain will slowly fill the new cracks, smooth over the shattered plates, and reform the oceans. It will be a hot, sterile, chemical-rich ocean under a thick, toxic sky. Does that sound familiar? It should. This is exactly what Earth looked like 4 billion years ago, before life began. The 5-minute event was not an end, it was a factory reset. It didn't just kill humanity, it deleted the entire 4 billion year history of biology. It wiped the slate clean, and in that new, sterile, boiling ocean, perhaps in a deep-sea volcanic vent that was somehow protected, a few extremophiles, microscopic bacteria that thrive on heat and sulfur, might have survived. Or perhaps not. Perhaps, in a million years, a comet carrying new amino acids will strike this new ocean, planting the seeds once more. Life found a way once. Given a few million years of peace, it will almost certainly find a way again. But it will not be our life. There will be no memory of us, no ruins to find, no trace that the age of mammals or trees or Tuesday morning meetings ever existed. Gravity is not just a law. It's a covenant. It's the universe's promise to keep our world together. And for 5 terrible, chaotic minutes, we learned what happens when that promise is broken.